Hi Bubs! So I thought about making a series of videos on houseplants and just like houseplant education and like helping people like figure out what kind of plants to get and how to take care of their plants. To be honest, I am mostly doing this because I'm bored and I need something new and exciting to do and think about. And I like doing like instructional type things or just like, you know, advice type of things. So this is mostly helpful for me, but I'm also really hoping that it can help some other people. And I'm really gonna try to like make this as like helpful and easy to understand as possible. So I don't know what to call this series. I'm definitely gonna do like a couple videos. Bubs for plants. Plants for Bubs. Plants for Bubs. So this first video, I'm not going to go too in-depth on any one particular plant or anything, but I just wanted to kind of, and hopefully the window, I have my window open because it's a nice like thunderstorm rainy day, and I wanted to actually bring in some humidity for my plants, so, but hopefully it's not too loud. Hopefully you can still hear me. But this first video, I just wanted to kind of go into like how a lot of people think that having plants and taking care of plants and not killing plants is difficult or that they can't do it. I hear a lot of people say things like, oh, I kill every plant I own, or like, I have such a black thumb, like I just can't have plants, I can't do it. And I just want to say that's bullshit. First of all, I think you can do it. You can definitely do it. It's really not that hard. These videos will help you figure it out. These videos will help you demystify plant owning and keeping plants alive a little bit. And I just want to say, like, you can do it. You really can do it. Like, you know, just you have it in you. It's not, you know, this is not rocket science, and this is not keeping a pet alive or a child alive. It's just a plant, you know. So even if you do, like, you know, I have killed so many plants. Like, I love plants and I have so many of them, and I've been, you know, a houseplant collector for a while, but like, I have killed my fair share of plants. Some of that is because the plant, you know, might have had some pests, or it might have been just, you know, didn't come from a very good nursery or something. Other times it was genuinely my fault because I wasn't paying attention, because I wasn't making the effort. So, you know, a lot of times when people say things like, oh, I kill every plant I own, or like, oh, I just can't have plants, you know, it's like, did you really try though? Did you? You know, and I don't know everybody's story that has said this type of thing, but I feel like there are tips and tricks and things that you can do to really like make a concerted effort. Because I feel like when people say, oh, you know, I kill every plant I own, or like, you know, I can't own plants, they get plants and they kind of expect it to be like a, oh, I can just do whatever with it and it will be fine. And yes, there are some plants that are very, very forgiving and very, very easy, and I will go over those in other videos, but I think, you know, a plant is still a living thing, and it still is, you need to respect the fact that it is a living thing and that it has needs, and that you want to make an effort, you know? So there are things that you can do to help yourself, to help remind yourself to check in on the plant, to see if it needs water, to see if it needs to change position and get different lighting. There are things that you can do to, you know, give it a good effort. And I think, you know, it's also, again, it's a plant, so if it dies on you, it's not the end of the world. You can get another one. You can learn from your mistakes. But you have to give it an effort. You have to really, you know, you can't just get a plant and say, like, you know, put it anywhere you want without looking up any of the information about it and watering it whenever you happen to remember. Like, you have to give it some effort. So here are some tips and tricks that I'm going to give you. Oh, and first of all, I want to say that this video is also not going to try to convince anyone that, like, if you don't really care about plants, if you don't really actually want to have plants, like, that's fine. That's totally fine. But if you have any type of desire to have plants in your home, or maybe you want a specific type of plant just because you really like the way that particular plant looks, I think you definitely have it in you to, like, take care of a plant and keep it alive for at least for a decent amount of time. So I think, you know, don't give up on yourself. Again, this is not rocket science. There are plenty of very easy plants out there and plenty of very easy tips. So, you know, this video is, you know, I'm not trying to convince anybody and, like, evangelize plant owning to, like, you know, convince people who don't want plants to want plants. But this is for anybody who, like, you know, you have a little inkling or you have a desire to have plants, or maybe you already have plants and you want to learn more. So first tip I would say that you need to consider before getting plants, before you do any of your research on what plants you want, before you go and buy any plants, you need to kind of assess your lighting situation. So you need to take a look at how much light you have, what direction your windows face. So it can be really helpful. It can be really, really helpful to just even, you know, download a compass app on your phone, or maybe you have an actual compass, and figure out what direction your windows are facing so you can figure out what kind of light you're getting. So generally, like, northern windows are going to get the least amount of light. Southern and western windows get the strongest amount of light. I think southern windows get the strongest, but I could be wrong about that. But southern and western windows generally get the strongest amount of light. Eastern windows are going to get, you know, like, in between light. And then you also can look at, like, okay, what do you have in front of your windows? Like, is there a big tree that's creating a lot of shade? So maybe you have a southern window, but there's a big tree in front of it. So, you know, the light that you're getting in the first, you know, couple feet in front of that window is not actually, like, super bright light. Do you have curtains that are constantly covering the windows? If you have a curtain that's covering the window, but it's still letting light through, that's going to be filtered light, right? Or indirect light, which a lot of plants love. A lot of plants, like a lot of the type of house plants that we buy and purchase for our homes, and of course not, you know, this is not every plant, but the vast majority of house plants that are on the market now, they are plants that grow in warm environments that are humid, and they get bright indirect light, or they might get lower kind of dappled light because they're sitting at, like, the bottom of the rainforest. But bright indirect light is what a lot of houseplants do really well with. So that's kind of like, you'll see a lot of plants that will say, like, bright indirect light, bright indirect light, bright indirect light. So, you know, it's more rare that you find plants that are going to be good in, like, direct sun. And of course, like, you really don't want to try to put a plant in a room that gets, like, no sun whatsoever. That's also not good. But it just, again, it really depends on the plant, and it really kind of depends on your individual home, your individual space. So you really need to kind of assess the light that you have, you know. So just even, you know, before you buy your plants, spend a day just kind of looking at all the rooms in your house where you're thinking of putting plants, where you have windows, observing the light, figuring out, okay, am I getting direct light? You know, is it coming directly from the sun, super, super bright, and nothing is filtering it, no leaves outside, no curtains in my house? Is it strong light? Like, you know, this is going to be from a south or western window, is going to have, like, much stronger, hotter light. Is it naturally filtered? Again, like, is it going to be more of that bright indirect light? And how, you know, how far away from the window does the light kind of start to dissipate? So again, it was really helpful for me to kind of just figure out like, oh, my windows face northeast. So I only have windows on one side of my apartment, unfortunately. So my windows only face northeast. So that is a lower light situation for me. Thankfully, since it's northeast, I get some of that a little bit more from the eastern side of things. But sorry. Noises scare me sometimes. But because it is also northern, it's just not, it's not bright light. It's not super bright. But yeah, just figure out what direction your windows are facing. Observe like how hot, you know, you can even just like get in front of your window throughout the day. And we're all quarantined, so we're all home. I mean, well, not all of us. Some of us are still working. I'm sorry. But you should have, you know, a day where you can kind of just observe as the sun moves through the sky. Just observe the different, you know, phases in your house and in front of your windows, and figure out like, okay, it's getting really bright light in the morning, and then it tapers off in the afternoon. Okay, so that's going to be a more eastern facing window, right? Or, oh, it's consistently just really bright throughout the day, or whatever. And that will really, like, figuring out what kind of light you have will really, really help you in figuring out, like, okay, what kind of plants am I going to have the best luck with, right? Because I definitely believe in, like, you know, even though it is just a house plant, and it is not the end of the world if you kill it, I believe in respecting the way, without sounding like a fucking hippie, like, I believe in respecting the way that these things in nature evolved, and the way that nature has conditioned these plants, right? So if you have a very low lit room, let's say you have only northern windows in one room and you want to get a plant for it, you wouldn't want to get, say, a croton or some other plant that needs very high bright light. That just kind of feels irresponsible for me. Like, you want to respect, like, okay, even though, like, yes, there is a chance that, like, if you get a plant that wants brighter light, there is a very good chance that it would survive in your low light room. But is it gonna just survive? Or is it gonna thrive? You know, like, you don't want to get something and just have it kind of barely survive and be really leggy and skinny and skimpy, because it's just kind of like trudging along, but it's not happy, it's not very healthy. Like, don't do that to a plant if you can help it. And that's why, like, I avoid buying a lot of cacti. I avoid, well, most cacti. I don't think I have a single cactus right now. Well, okay, I do have one, but I'm gonna give it away. I've just recently got it, and I'm gonna give it away probably as soon as I can, or at least after the summer is over, because I don't have enough light for it, and I know that. And I have very little succulents as well, because they just need brighter light. I don't have a croton. Croton would be cool to have. I would love to have a croton, but I don't want to, because I don't want to do that to a plant, you know, even if maybe, you know, maybe it would survive. I don't want it to just survive. I want it to thrive. So I think, like, there is something to be said about, like, being kind to these plants and respecting, you know, just how, like, we want people to respect our identities and stuff. We want to respect a plant's identity. So I'm sorry, this sounds so stupid, but yeah, if a low light plant is a low light plant, don't put it in direct sun and expect it to just, like, you know, magically adapt and be perfectly healthy. Again, there are plants that are good at adapting to various lighting situations and watering situations and stuff. And sometimes plants will surprise you, and sometimes, you know, you'll get a plant and maybe you thought, or someone, you know, like someone, you know, I've had times where, like, someone's given me a plant and, like, I'm like, I don't know, or I bought a plant without researching it first well, and I'm like, I don't know if this will do well in my room, and then like it does really well. So sometimes plants will surprise you, but I think like in general, you want to shop for plants that are going to fit your lighting situation, because that's going to be the best for you. You won't be wasting your money. You're less likely to have a plant die on you, and you're also being kind to these like actual living things, you know. You're respecting what they need. So yeah, figure out your light situation. And there are different, like there are tons of YouTube videos and stuff, and like I can even link you to a video by one of my favorite plant YouTubers, Plantarina. She's really funny, where she talks about like how to kind of figure out your lighting situation more in depth in your home, because I will admit I'm actually not the best at it myself. But yeah, figuring out the direction your light is coming from is the first step, and then just like observing what kind of light you're getting. And if you're confused or unsure, like watch these YouTube videos. You can also get a lighting meter. That's probably not necessary. I wouldn't waste my money on that unless you already have one, like maybe you're a photographer and you already have one. Second suggestion and tip I have, and I'm gonna end this video soon because I know it's going on for a little long. Ooh, and I have to go to yoga, or well, do yoga in my house through the internet. But the second thing is that I want to say about like watering. So like, okay, you've assessed your lighting situation. Next important thing is going to be water, right, for your plants. So I have found it really helpful to kind of, just one tip is to check on your plants kind of every day. And no, you won't be watering your plants every day, but getting in the habit of checking on them every day is going to be really good, because if you do it every day, then you won't miss when your plant is like, I'm dying, I'm so thirsty, please water me. I'm going to go grab a plant actually and show you another tip, but yeah, checking on your plants every day is going to be really good to help alert you to when it needs to be watered, but also to any possible pest problems, to, you know, realizing like, oh, this needs to be repotted, or needs, you know, more fertilizer maybe. And you can, there's some tips that you can use when you're checking on your plants. So let me just grab one. Okay, sorry. I have the camera on my bed. This is a spathiphyllum, otherwise known as, I forget the second part of the name, but it's a spathiphyllum, and it is a peace, otherwise known as a peace lily, and this is the domino kind. So you can see it's got these really cool crinkly leaves, like it's like crepe paper, or like one of those like ruched shirts from the 90s, or like, well, I think it was more like early 2000s. But this is a gorgeous plant, and it's got this like gorgeous variegation. It is a variation, but so when you're checking on your plants, one tip to do: hold them, weigh them in your hand, and after you water them, do the same thing. Hold them and weigh them. So right after you water them, hold them and weigh them. Get used to the weight of a just watered plant. And then every time that you check on them, hold it and weigh it again. Remember how much it weighs as it's going through, you know, the soaking up the water process. So doing this every day and just doing it frequently, you'll get used to like, okay, oh, you know, I'm just picking up this plant, checking on it daily, but it feels really light, like super light. It probably needs water, because it feels way lighter than it did a couple days ago, you know, and it definitely feels incredibly lighter than it was right after I watered it a week ago, you know. So getting used to how the pot feels and how much it weighs is really helpful for watering. Another thing that you can do is look at the leaves. Now, This is not currently really wilting, so I can't use this as an example, but a lot of plants will tell you when they need water with how their leaves look. Some plants, like certain like philodendrons or pothos, the leaves will kind of droop, or they'll kind of curl a little bit, and they'll just look kind of just generally sad and flimsy and just like limp. They'll look limp and flaccid, very flaccid. But yeah, I mean, really flaccid actually is the perfect word to describe it. So look at the leaves and kind of feel the leaves. Peace lilies themselves these are renowned for being very dramatic when they are thirsty. They will full on like wilt and just kind of fall over and be like, oh my God, I'm so thirsty. And then they come right back up and recover, and they're fine once they're watered. So a lot of peace lily owners, they wait for that wilt. You don't necessarily like have to wait for the wilt, but waiting for the wilt can be a really good indication of like, okay, now it's definitely good and safe to water. Because you definitely don't want to overwater your plants, and you don't want to underwater either. But I think a general rule of thumb that is probably going to be good and going to be helpful for you is err on the side of underwatering rather than overwatering. Overwatering can cause root rot, and I always have a hard time saying it. Root rot. Now, some plants can recover from getting a little bit of root rot. Some plants can recover really easily from being overwatered, and like it's fine. But other plants, not so much, and some plants are much more susceptible to root rot. So you do want to be really careful about overwatering. And I would say err on the side of underwatering. So if you are checking on your plants on a daily basis, or even just every other day, or maybe you only maybe you're only checking on your plants a week, and that, like, for certain plants, that's fine. That's fine. But, you know, if you're like, okay, well, the soil still feels moist, the pot still feels kind of heavy. If you're unsure about it, wait a day or two. Because you just want to be careful about overwatering. Okay, one last tip about watering, and then I'm going to end this video, is one really helpful thing that I found is putting in reminders in my phone for when I need to water, for when I need to check on my plants, right? So if you're one of those people that thinks that you can't possibly own plants, excuse me, even though you want to, and you think that you kill every plant you own, I'm going to tell you, do this. Put reminders in your phone. Put alarms in your phone. You have a calendar in your phone, right? Put in an event in your phone. Set an alarm for you know, this, like the alarm that's like, oh, set for 30 minutes before the event starts or whatever. Set it in your calendar, put it in your phone so that you get that reminder. You get a beep, and you can have like emails sent to you, or, you know, text alerts or whatever. Like, we have the technology, Bubs. Like, you can do it. You can remind yourself. And I think this, you know, using technology to help me with my plants has definitely been great, because, you know, I put notes in my phone all the time to be like, okay, tomorrow you need to check on this plant and this plant and this plant. You know, and that way, like, what I'm thinking about the night before, I don't completely forget about it, you know, when the day actually comes. So yeah, put reminders in your phone. Or have, like, if you have let's say you have a partner who has a really good memory, have your partner remind you. But, you know, I think if you really put in the effort, you can remember to check on your plants. You can remember to water them. And in the next videos, I'll be talking about like easy plants and some more tips regarding like humidity and soil and stuff like that. But yeah, you can definitely do it. I believe in you. I believe in you. You got this. All right, I gotta go, but hopefully this was helpful to somebody. Thank you for indulging me. See you later.